Welcome to the Talking Soccer with Chris and Will podcast. I'm your host, Will,
I'm Chris.
and today we're diving into LA Galaxy's big win, OCFC's recent form, some transfer rumors involving Pulisic and Pizarro, and the Gold Cup, possibly some upcoming games as well. Let's kick it off.
Welcome to the first episode. And before we dive into Galaxy's big win over the 4th of July holiday, what were you up to during the holiday weekend?
Well, I stayed in town. I got a lot of soccer in over the weekend. I know you left town, right? Where were you at?
Yeah,
Were you
yes, I was in DC and North Carolina for the week. So a little bit of traveling.
were you gone the full week?
Yeah,
Like for 4th of July too?
so I was Saturday, so the 1st through the 8th. So I flew into DC to go visit my girlfriend and her family. We drove down to Wilmington, North Carolina.
Nice.
Um, and we just spent the 4th there. I just a bit of news, I guess, to share as well. I did get engaged. Wasn't planned or anything, so
I wasn't sure if you're going to share that. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Congrats, man.
So that happens. Yeah, thanks, man. So that happened, and so we did that with her family. We had a whole like crab boil and all that stuff,
Oh,
Southern style. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun spending the time there. It was a long drive there and back, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, I just wasn't able to catch the Galaxy game during the 4th. Obviously, it was just kind of hanging out with family. But no, I did catch a little bit on Twitter. Was going a little crazy, so
I
it
think
was
I'm gonna let.
exciting.
I was gonna say I think I'm gonna let you slide on this one just because you were supposed to go with me to this 4th of July game that
Yeah.
was postponed. Remember, it was at the beginning of the year and it got postponed to the Rose Bowl. But I think you have a pretty good excuse not not to be there that weekend.
Yeah, it's a decent excuse, I think. But yeah, I was looking forward to it. It just wasn't good timing. It was perfect for 4th of July, but just personally, it wasn't good timing, unfortunately. But
I
no,
was
but
holding down the fort. Don't worry, I was holding down the soccer fort over here. I know for sure. I took your tickets for OCSC for Saturday's game, so I watched that game in person, and then of course I was at the El Trafico at the Rose Bowl too. Speaking of which, were you able to catch it on TV?
just the highlights, just kind of the goals. Kind of was it the Puig goal to take the lead, right? And I saw the crowd going crazy. Yeah, it looked intense. I know. I mean, you were there, right? So how was it?
Man, it's one of those games I think you're gonna remember like for a long time as a fan, just because seeing that many. I mean, I'm looking at it from like a soccer fan point of view, right? To see 80,000 people there just rooting for an MLS team, MLS teams in general, right? That to me that showed a lot. But the environment inside was crazy. It was awesome to see the fans back in our supporter groups, the LA Galaxy supporter groups back in the stands. They really make everything, hype everything up in the crowd. But aside from that, I snuck into some VIP seats, so that was nice. Got free food and drinks. I let them know that I was well. The way I got in was I told them that I was one of the players' brothers, and that's how they let me in. So
Just a nice little white lie, I guess.
yeah, but it worked. I mean, everybody. I think just in the commotion of it, I'm trying to charge my computer at the same time here. It's dying. But yeah, through the commotion, I guess I was able to sneak myself in. But I think overall, though, that made the experience even better. Right, getting a bunch of free food, free drinks, and then enjoying the game on top of that. That was so fun. But let's talk about Galaxy though. I mean, if you've noticed, they've really been improving the last few games, right? And there's a couple of trends that I'm seeing, right? I'm seeing Douglas Costa performing a lot better, and the team overall just clicking. I mean, what have you seen so far from the Galaxy?
It seems like they've kind of grown as a team, right? Maybe over the last month or so. I don't know if it has to do with some of the major injuries. I don't know, just maybe making the team a little bit more settled with Chicharito's big injury, right? Being out for the season. I wasn't too sure how that was going to affect them, but with their recent form 4 matches unbeaten. It was a 3 draws, 1 win, right? So I think a solid performance overall, good team performance. Uh, uh, to be honest, an upset, right, of LAFC. They're top top 2 in the table right now, and the Galaxy's been rooted to the bottom for quite quite large portions of the season. So it was a surprise, but it seems like their performances are improving. Puig, obviously a standout match-winning performance during that game, and you seeing, yeah, Costa's improved form, kind of dictating the tempo. They just seem to be they just seem to be building some momentum recently. So hopefully that continues. I don't know if they'll maybe start making the climb up the table now. They're not too far away from the last playoff spots. So if they make low continued run, who knows? They could sneak in there. But overall, I think they're looking good, trending in positive way. What do you think?
I mean, of course, we don't want to jinx it, right? I mean, so far they're definitely doing good, but what we've seen previously, I don't think we can forget about that. There've been some sloppy games up front, but something tells me that I feel like we're kind of past it. And I don't know. I maybe even the Chicharito injury. I love Chicharito, by the way. I love his mentality, his work rate, but I think something about him leaving, and obviously Klein leaving too, must have something to do with it. But something about Chicha leaving, it left that void in the dressing room for like a leader. And what I'm seeing is I'm seeing Douglas step up, Pooch step up, and even Boyd. I mean, we're forgetting about Boyd, our leading goal scorer right now. One funny stat that I was looking at is Douglas Costa has 6 assists right this year so far, and this is as of July 10th, right? Thiago Almada has 10. So even Douglas Costa, who's a little behind the 8 ball, right? He's been injured most of the year. He's catching up to the league leader with 10. So it's something to keep your eye on moving forward. If the Galaxy want to continue to win, I think that it's important to have Puig, Douglas, and Boyd all trending in the upward direction, right?
That's a good point with that stat about Douglas Costa. That tells me he's even in his limited time right now returning. It seems like returning from injury, getting into form now. It seemed like he was really with injuries, just never in form. Seem off from the games we've been at. I think sometimes I'd be glad he was subbed off with
Yeah.
some of his performances. So it seems like he's falling into form at the right time. The team is gelling, and Boyd is, I think he's an underrated signing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
For the season. I wasn't really didn't know what to expect from that, but it seems like he's kind of a positive influence right on the team right now. Good outlet right on the flanks, and I think with Puig dictating in midfield, his pedigree in Barcelona, I think that helps him. He's growing confident, taking over games, it seems like, or taking the lead, right? As
Mhm.
a leader of the LA Galaxy. I feel personally they're building that momentum to hopefully make that push. At this point, I don't think there's any big signings coming in, right? Perhaps there might be one out there, but nothing that's gonna be that impactful, right? So hopefully the form continues. And yeah, I think the atmosphere at the around the team is a lot better before now that Klein left. So it seems like more they've revamped their marketing team, right, as well. So it seems like there's a new big kind of like a new beginning around the club. So
Yeah.
um,
And
uh,
I mean, it might even be like a multifaceted change. I mean, even today I was in the car with my mom in the car, and she listens to her Spanish radio, and even on the Spanish radio they were promoting LA Galaxy games. I've never seen that, heard that before, but it's good. It's refreshing to see that there is advertisement out there to kind of make this team even more popular than they are. I mean, one way to really make a team popular again is by winning, right? If you notice, they also beat in the last week they also beat Philadelphia, which was, if you
Mhm.
remember last year, the number 2 team in all of MLS, right? They're not too far. I mean, they've probably had a bad run of form. Philadelphia has the last few games, but they're still a great team, right? And the fact that the Galaxy were able to beat LAFC at the Rose Bowl in front of 80,000 people and then come home to Carson and still beat Philly on top of that. Man, that's just so great for that team. And hopefully it shows us that we are a good team and we can beat anybody in the league, even the best teams, because once you go into this run of form into the playoffs, winning a couple of games like that, I mean the sky's the limit. I'm always an optimist, man. I'm always going to say there's that chance, but so far so good by this team.
Yeah, the big Philly win this past weekend was huge. Good
3-1 too.
performances. Yeah, 3-1. They felt like it looked like from watching it, they had a pretty decent control of the game, the tempo. We had goals from Boyd and Puig. So again, they just continue their being in form,
Mhm.
packed full. We have to be realistic at the same time. They're still at the bottom half of the table, but with those final spots still up for grabs, there's a couple of teams that are bunched up in there, right? Galaxy seems to be in the mix now. So hopefully,
I think they're like 4 points away from a playoff spot right now, which is I never even thought that was going to happen at the beginning of
no,
the year. I'll be honest with you, but this 180 this team is doing. Now another team that's doing a 180 right now is our other team in the Southern region, OCFC, coming off a 3-game win streak, right? Except they lost the last game, I think it was, right?
that's right. Yeah, they've had a similar to LA Galaxy, OCFC, a tough beginning to the season. They really struggled last year, and that seemed to continue into this year. And with they had a change in coach, so they had Richard Chaplow leave as coach, and one of his assistants, Maureen Carlson, took over, and the results seem to have improved. What I noticed, their defense really solidified in that period since the changing in coach. They were also scoring, so there just seemed to be a different vibe with the team. They were more solid at the back. They seem more organized. Going forward, they seem a little bit more had more direction. So overall, I think they're trending in the right direction. They were on a 3-game win streak. They ran into this weekend Rio Grande out in Texas, a 2-0 loss. And to be honest, just watching the game, they just seemed to kind of fade. It was a
Mhm.
tight first half. They came out strong in the beginning of the second half. They had a flurry of chances to kind of kick things off in their second half, and then they seem to just kind of tail off. I don't know. It's a road game, so it happens, but I think overall they're kind of going in the right direction with their recent form. Hopefully that continues. But again, they're rooted to the bottom half of the table, and Rio Grande were one of the teams in the mix to kind of fight for those last spots as well. So this was a hit to OCFC's chances, but they're still in there.
Okay.
So they still have a plenty to the season left, so they could still make a run, I think. And from seeing a couple of years ago that they were, what was it, the 8th seed, right, when they got into the playoffs and they
Yeah.
won the champion, right? They won the league. So as long as you make the playoffs, anything could happen.
Yeah, they're kind of in a similar position, I think, than as the Galaxy are, where they were kind of at the bottom of the table most of the season so far, and they're kind of working their way up. Now, a little bit of background: OCSC was just a side team that Chris and I started following, and kind of really hooked our teeth into that team, and noticed there wasn't a lot of coverage on the team. But I personally have been following the team since the day they won the championship, which was 2 or 3 years ago now. Chaplow was the original coach, and he always played like that defensive 4-man back and things like that. But I think in the USL, it's just difficult because of the turnover, right? I fall in love with one player at OCSC, and then he's gone the next year, right? And that's kind of the difficult part with coaching these USL sides, I think, is that you have so much turnover. So I think Chaplow, the old coach, he was good, but I think it's just hard when you're transitioning so much like that. But since Morton has come in, you definitely see a more attacking team. I'm seeing the halftime substitutions, or the substitutions in general, that are impacting the game in a positive way, which I wasn't seeing towards the end of Chaplow's tenure there. But regardless, it looks like the team is playing a lot better, just like Galaxy is. They're playing a lot better, and I think LAFC right now. I'm sorry, I think OCSC right now is 2 points away from a playoff spot. So even them, they're definitely climbing as well. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
that's a
one
good
point
point.
away.
Okay, so yeah, they're not too far off, and like you said, it's USL, it's a high turnover league. I think former coach Chaplow, I think he just maybe ran out of some ideas, right? With he had a successful championship season, right? I think he came in midway through that season or kind of in the beginning part. Last year was a struggle and the completely different teams, right? So he just couldn't find that right formula, perhaps with the team. It seems Carlson has done that. He's kind of created, seems like some, I don't know what I would say, call it maybe a tighter knit team, maybe with more belief. Like you said, they seem to be have more direct, be more have a more direct style, a little bit more attack or a little bit more bite than before. They're solid at the back during the win streak. Yesterday, kind of not so much. They're kind of hit on a couple goals there, but overall, I think their performances have been pretty good. But yeah, hopefully that continues, and it seems like they have some dynamism in the team now. Last year, it was hard to watch some of the games. They were just kind of churning along. There's real struggle to move the ball. Iloski was kind of a standout performance last year. I think he was a leading scorer, right, for the whole league, and even that
Yeah.
the team still struggled. So I'm just glad to see their performances have improved, and they're hopefully going to fight for to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, speaking of Olowski, I mean, as you know, he's my favorite player, right? On OC's team. I've been saying that this guy should be in MLS. He should not be in the USL. But regardless, he's still that attacking threat. He is playing more of a forward position right now, from what I'm seeing. He didn't score the last game, but what I do like though is that OC has always had like their super sub. Remember Ugo last year and things like that. And this year we have Thomas Amang, Cameroonian, that super sub that we need off the bench that can take off some of the pressure off Olowski from having to score all those goals, because I think that maybe he just had that, standout season, but it's hard because teams uh, start adjusting to your play style and things like that. So it makes it a little bit tough for a player, but I'm sure only he can speak on that behalf for sure.
Yeah, that's a good callback. Ugo was probably my favorite, one of my favorite. It's sad to see him go. He was very impactful, I think, off the bench, especially during that championship run. You just added a different dimension, right? A more physical dimension to the team when they needed it. Last year, it was the team just struggled overall. So I think Ugo included, but yeah, I think Thomas Among is a good option off the bench. He provides that dynamism that you need off the bench, right? That kickstart. Have 2 goals off the bench is incredible. So I think the team looks a lot better now than compared to a year ago. So hopefully, like they continue to grow in confidence and the performance, positive performance continue, and they climb up the table. But yeah, so now turning over to the CONCACAF Gold Cup, we had some exciting game yesterday. Yep, representing the U.S. men
Big
national
win
team.
yesterday.
Big
Yep.
win, big drama. I think kind of from seeing the game, they probably could have put Canada away, and if they had, I don't know if concentration. They had some concentration lapses, perhaps, but I think the U.S. has just a more strong, had a stronger team than Canada. But you have to give it up to the Canadian team as well. They
Yeah,
have a good, they have a solid squad. Even though most of these teams are bringing their B teams, it was still a solid performance. Give credit to them for sticking in there. The U.S.
they're
for
gritty too.
oh yeah,
They were right there with the USA, even the late goals. So I definitely credit where credit's due for them. But at the end of the day, I think the best team did win. USA does deserve to move on, and then we see what happens next, right? I mean, it was shaky the last round. I don't think that the next game is going to be any easier, right? But we'll see, right?
yeah, they're yeah. Next game is against Panama, so they're not an easy team to go against. They're a solid group. To be honest, I'm not too familiar with the current roster, but again, they're always tough, especially in Concacaf recently, and with the U.S. performance, got to give it up to the resilience they showed coming back and ultimately winning on penalties. Right, we had Vasquez off the bench, right,
Mm-hmm.
with the incredible headed goal. Had a fantastic performance right in the penalty shootout. Maybe a little bit of luck too with some of the, especially with the last penalty by Canada hitting the crossbar. But Turner, he's got that dog in him. I think he just has that fire, and he just it seems like he's always up for it, for the challenge. But again, good showing, good resilience shown by the team. I think it's needed in these tournaments. It's going to help them as they move along right into the semifinals, and ultimately, I'm hoping we see the showdown that everybody always looks forward to: U.S. versus Mexico.
Mexico.
And talking about Mexico, they had a solid performance versus Costa Rica. I'm not going to say it was exceptional. I think it was just solid. 2-0 result. Goals from Pinea and Eric Sanchez. Yeah, like I said, I don't. Costa Rica did not seem to like the side that I'm used to seeing in the past, and but Mexico, they did what they needed to do, take care of business, and move on to the next round.
Which is a tough
And
game against Jamaica. I mean, they look like a really solid team. Jamaica does. I think they're definitely going to give Mexico that challenge if they even need any more challenges already with the way that their federation is going. But it's going to be a good test, and I think the Mexican Federation fans, because I'm Mexican American too, I'll root for them when I'm not rooting for the USA, but they definitely need some kind of motivation. And I think advancing to the final U.S. Mexico game, whoever the best team, let the best team win. I think that's what we really want to see right now. But fun fact, I was looking into the Gold Cup because I really didn't know a ton of it, but I guess it was started in 1991, same year as me. So
oh,
we're both
nice.
30. We're both 32 years old. Yep. So you can tell though that they're really not, the Gold Cup isn't really where you play your starters. I'm learning that, right. You're seeing players like Bucio. Matt Turner is obviously a starter, but you are seeing Fair Area starting and things like that, and they're making the best of it when they do start these not the frontline players, right? Maybe players I play with in FIFA, but not players that you're used to seeing on a national team day in and day out.
I think it's a good. Oh, I'm sorry, Will.
No, you're
No, I
fine.
think it's. I just wanted to add to that point. Yeah, it's a good way to see how the the players there in the second tier, right below the premier kind of national team players,
Yeah.
see how they perform in these environments, getting some of the younger players experience on the national team, international experience, and just seeing what they how they're gonna how you could incorporate them perhaps into the first team, into the bigger tournaments. And I think that's it's and obviously they even the B teams for the US or even Mexico, the B teams are a lot better, are to par or maybe slightly or above the 8 teams for the rest of the teams in the tournament. So I think it's just a good way to showcase what these younger players can do and see how you could maybe incorporate them into the first team, and makes for an exciting tournament, right? They don't just run through some of these other teams, and the CONCACAF has become more competitive over the years, right? We see in Canada's rise in the last kind of couple years, right? So I know they've had some good performances versus Mexico during the World Cup qualifiers, but it's exciting. So, and hopefully to see a exciting semifinal round. Jamaica is not going to be an easy task for Mexico. We have a couple of Premier League players and a lot of guys playing in the English Championship as well. So it's they have a high level, I think. So it's going to be they're going to pose some problems for Mexico. So that'll be an exciting game to watch.
Now, while the kiddos are playing for a cup at the Gold Cup, the big boys, the seniors are on the move, right? We got Pulisic moving to AC Milan. We got Tim Weah, who scored at the World Cup, moving to Juventus, and Weston McKennie, right? A few other ones, right?
Yeah, I think Weston McKennie, there's rumors him going to Dortmund in the Bundesliga. And just recently, Aronson, he was with Leeds United in the Premier League. He's going on loan to Union Berlin in the Bundesliga. And they had a fantastic season. They're going to the Champions League this year. I think they came in third place, I believe. So automatic entry into the Champions League. So that should be exciting, seeing some of these U.S. national team players going to these big teams. For example, Pulisic's AC Milan, they just won the Serie A just a year ago. A historical club, one of the big teams in Serie A. Tim Weah going to Juventus, replacing Cuadrado, right? A real, I would say, legendary player for Colombia, right? Solid on the wing, right? For Juventus, he's coming in as his replacement, so big shoes to fill. But I'm excited to see these players going to big teams and getting that experience, and hopefully Weston McKennie, playing time, and that's important. But I think Pulisic, we will get their playing time. Hopefully, especially with Pulisic staying healthy for the season, that'd be a big for him, and kind of getting that exposure, right? He's a face of U.S. men's soccer, so it's important for him to have that playing time. And AC Milan, that's one of the biggest stages you could get on, right? So, and for Weston, hopefully we see him on a solid European team. I don't think you could complain going to Dortmund. They always develop players. They've going to a transition, but it should be exciting to see him on there. Hopefully, or even if he goes to maybe another Premier League team, but we'll see. Transfer rumor season, so
or Galaxy. I
think selfishly we would want him on there.
Or Pulisic, quick loan move.
Like Donovan was saying, but I don't think that's a good move for their careers at this point. But maybe in the future.
Hey, I wouldn't roll out like a 6-month loan deal for Pulisic. There's always that chance. Like Abramovich, he had that short loan stint with the Galaxy. But bringing things back though from European soccer to more locally, it sounds like this might be a done deal. Pizarro coming to the Galaxy. Rodolfo Pizarro, Mexican national, attacking midfielder. What do you think about that move?
I'm not sure about the move, to be honest. He hasn't really had a great time while he's been in the MLS, right? He was a big signing for Inter Milan now, or I'm sorry, Inter Miami. I'm sorry. And with the big moves that Beckham is doing over there and down in Miami, with Messi coming in, Sergio Busquets. I think there's talk about Jordi Alba from Barcelona, so they're bringing the band back together, sort of from the Barcelona, right? From the Barcelona teams, right? So I mean, just rolling back the time, right? So I think Pizarro is just odd man out. Like I said, he hasn't had a good time in the MLS, but this could be a good move for him. He gets another chance in at the big MLS club. LA Galaxy is for the I would say the most historic and successful club in MLS history. Don't you
Yeah.
think? So
Yeah.
it's like comparisons like going to Manchester United in the Premier League, right? Or Liverpool, but maybe more United with all the titles, right, in their history. So Galaxy with all the successful history they've had over the years, right? It could be a potentially good match for him,
Or a bad
and
one, because I feel like some people can't live up to the hype, right? Can't deal with the extra pressure that comes with playing for an LA team, right? We have high demands and things like that. But I don't know if you saw, there was like a little piece of him basically commenting. I saw on Goal America that he was saying that he didn't know that you can be transferred. I mean, you can be traded in MLS. I thought that was so ridiculous that he didn't even know that that was a possibility, that you can be traded, right? I'm not sure what his representation is telling him or not telling him about MLS. But if he does come, I hope he wants to be in in this uniform. I hope he wants to be an LA Galaxy player. If he doesn't, I don't think it's going to go well for the team. But if he does, it should be okay. I mean, there's a lot of Mexican national fans here at the team, so we'll support him just like we supported Chicharito. But again, he has to want to be here. There's also talks that Miami might pay his contract in full, so we might be able to get this guy basically like for free. I know there's like a lot of inner details that have to go into that. Something I don't even know about, like league rules and things like that. But hopefully, we are able to get him on the cheap and add more players too, because I'm sure he's not going to be our last signing. There's talks about more signings, but who knows really until it happens, right?
yeah, yeah, it's a little confusing from that point of view. Him not being aware of the how transfers or trades are done right within the MLS. I think some of these like players that come in from different leagues don't have a good understanding of what the MLS is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's I don't have any sympathy for that. I think it's a little kind of disrespectful to the league. I
Mm-hmm.
understand. Obviously, you don't want to be the odd man out, but when Messi is coming to a club, somebody
Leave.
needs to somebody needs to make way for him. And obviously, Pizarro is not at Messi's level, unfortunately, and he could have an impact on the Galaxy, but it all depends if he's in the right state of mind to do that, to make that move. I know he was down in the Liga MX, right, on loan recently, had decent run of form down there, but I guess it could be a good or a bad move, but just depending on what is I think what his mindset is coming into the Galaxy if he comes in. I'm not sure how we're going to fit him in at the
Yeah.
current state of form of the team. Perhaps maybe try to incorporate him slowly into the team, and him understanding what the team dynamics are, right, and eventually get into a little playing time. But I guess we'll wait and see. I'm not too sure where this transfer is. I'm just like everybody else, just reading the news,
Speculating.
yeah,
Yep.
speculating, but I haven't really heard too much. So we'll just wait and see. Hopefully, they make the right transfer moves for the team. Right now, I feel like that it could be a disruption to how they're playing, but they just looking at it from a roster's point of view, that it wouldn't hurt to make some additional signings that would be impactful.
Yep.
Um,
So we'll be on the lookout for that transfer in the coming weeks or days. Who knows? At this point, we are allowed to make some transfers right now, so I guess we'll see how that shapes out. But looking forward to this next week. We got an exciting week of soccer. We got Galaxy. We got OCSC. We got U.S. Men National Team, and we got Mexico playing. On top of all of that, we got more tournaments, more MLS tournaments coming up. Leagues Cup, and we also got the Women's World Cup. LA Galaxy plays Vancouver July 15th, here in a few days. OCSC is playing London. How do you say that? London?
I think it's Loudon
Loudon,
United. Yeah,
wherever they're from. So yeah, they're playing
for
July
yeah,
15th too.
they're in the DC area.
Okay, all right, all right. So you were just there.
Interest tidbit there. I looked them up. I'm like, I had no clue where they play. So it's right outside like DC,
Oh
probably
wow,
like an hour or so outside, small little town. But yeah, so should be good. Hopefully,
yeah,
OCFC get the win.
yeah. And
And
USL is growing too, so that should
mhm.
be a good game. And then obviously the big one, U.S. men's national team, and our boy Jalen Neal, which is a center back for Galaxies, representing the red, white, and blue center back. So he'll probably be playing July 12th, and then again Mexico and the Mexican Federation playing the 12th against Jamaica.
Yeah, exciting games coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, looking forward to them.
I think that wraps it up, Chris. What do you think? Covered
Yeah, I think
everything.
so. I think so. Just again, good wins for LA Galaxy in the last week over LAFC. Great Fourth of July game, and
Yeah,
more recently against Philly. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully we
the
see,
run continues.
yeah, make that run for the playoffs. OCFC maybe get back on track with the solid performance out in DC. And yeah, that we get this Gold Cup semis on Wednesday, and let's see if we get the matchup that everybody wants. But they should be exciting games regardless.
We'll keep an eye on that for the podcast, how that shapes up. And then lastly, we'll keep an eye on the transfers, right? We want to see where Weston McKennie possibly ends up. He's probably not going to end up at Leeds, stay at Leeds. And then same for Pizarro with the Galaxy. Let's see where that ends up.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see how those develop. Anything can happen. So you hear something one day and the next day it's totally different. So that's how the off season goes, or summertime, with all these speculation. But yeah, we'll wait and see, and hopefully some exciting signings for Galaxy for sure. Yeah, so yeah, we'll hopefully touch base on the upcoming tournaments, right, on the next episode.
Be a
So,
little bit of
so
Women's World Cup, a little bit of that.
get the Leagues Cup for MLS. That should be exciting. So yeah, so I think anything else you want to touch base on? Well,
I think that's it. Just please forget to follow us on our social medias, Talking Soccer with Chris and Will on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll include them we'll include our personal social medias in the descriptions as well if you want to follow me, Will, or Chris. And just stay tuned for the next episode.
yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, like Will said, we'll add our social media in the description, and yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. And yeah, you could catch us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. So,
Yep.
so again, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I guess
Catch you on the next show.
till next episode. All right.
Signing off.
Bye, guys.